Welcome to Deep Dive Daily.
What up? What up? What up? Good morning, Andy. We're going to talk mostly NFL draft today, but just a special good morning to the Oklahoma City Thunder, just covering machines. 67% on the year, despite being almost 9 point favorites in every game, is amazing. With an average and 13 points last night comes through. If you watch that game, the last 4 minutes were hilariously absurd for them, and they just turned the faucet off for the Pistons in terms of scoring and get ahead and cover. It was awesome. Big game tonight in the association, Andy. Warriors take on the Lakers. And as is the running bit, I'm betting against the Lakers. Surprise! The Warriors, to me, are kind of the perfect hand and glove matchup to take advantage of where the Lakers are the weakest. And right now, as I project the playoff seedings, this would be your 3-6, which means that's bad news for the Lakers if they stay in the 3 and the Warriors get the 6. The reason that they're such a perfect matchup is, number one, the Lakers still don't have that rim protecting big. They don't have just size really in general. And the way you take advantage of the Warriors defense's size, and the way you take advantage of the Lakers defense is you just get to the rim on them and get to the free throw line. And Curry and Butler are just going to take turns as like going through a turnstile in the fourth quarter of this game, getting to the line, in my opinion. So I think the Warriors can get it done. I don't have a big delta neutrally in terms of how you rate these two teams. They're both about +6s. The Lakers are a little below +6. The Warriors a little above +6. But just matchups and styles, everything says Warriors. Trivia for you. You remember the last time we saw the Warriors play the Lakers and what happened?
No, I don't. I feel
It's a
like I
trick
should.
question because you were watching Ravens absolutely throttled the Texans on Christmas Day
Oh, it was a
instead of
Christmas game
watching
and nobody watched
Lakers
it.
Warriors on Christmas. Of course, that result's meaningless. Anthony Davis was outstanding that day for the Lakers. Jimmy Butler was in Miami at the time, and Draymond Green didn't play because he was hurt. So we have two
It's
very
a good
different
lesson
teams.
too. In whatever the opposite of the silent majority is, it's like no, it is the silent majority because it's the loudest people about the NFL. Like all the way back to like Kaepernick kneeling or any other problem anyone has ever had with the NFL, and they're like, "Well, I'm not watching it anymore." Like, it's clearly like 13 people on the internet who are very loud about it because, God, they just fed the NBA their lunch,
They
and
did,
it's,
yeah,
I mean, on a Christmas day, oof,
yeah. Oh, I
such
mean,
is life
the
though. NFL's
NFL
king.
especially kicked dirt on it because they put it on Netflix. It's
Yeah,
still
it,
rocked.
it
And
wasn't like,
they
hey, we put
sent
this on
they sent
CBS or
Beyonce
Fox.
down to Houston to do the halftime show. So that was actually the highlight of that. Was it 24-2 drubbing?
Yeah, that was a bad game, wasn't it?
That was just an absolute skull fucking sad state of affairs. That was the bottom of the Texans season, really, and probably what got what's his face fired.
Bobby, little Bobby
Bobby
Slowick.
Slowick. Yeah. Let's talk a little NFL, Andy. What's your kind of current news and information in the draft cycle that has piqued your curiosity and your interest?
I don't know. There seems to be a bunch of guys who are. I almost said bipolar. That is definitely the wrong word.
Bimodal?
Um, nah, maybe bimodal is a good word for it, but just it seems like there's always one or two guys that are controversial as far as where we think they'll go. Where there's two camps saying this guy's dropping. There's a camp saying like he's too good to drop. There's just so many guys like that this year, and I mean it's at multiple positions with Campbell and his short arms that somehow grew at pro day, and Tet McMillan, and basically people saying he's the best receiver in the class versus people saying he should go in the back end of the first round. And now there's a couple decent size names,
Mm-hmm.
draft nicks, who are putting Matthew Golden up a lot higher, and the people hungry. I feel like this is why we take a beating in the draft betting, and I'm just seeing this. And no offense to all my draft betting friends, but I'm seeing it from you guys. You're so hungry for those wins, like we used to get with the information, that as soon as one big name just says, "Well, I'm going to flip the order of the wide receivers. I'm going to flip the order of the safeties or the tackles," and they see a plus number, they just start betting it. And maybe it's a decent spot if you have some, if you have some liquidity on the other side. You think it's a two-way market, even though they're listing 3-4 guys. But man, it just feels like last year we did the same thing with a few guys. Like, oh no, Jeremiah likes this guy. I'm going to bet him top wide receiver, top corner, whatever. And then, it seems like the same story again. Whereas the money to be made when you're betting the draft is informational. It isn't guesswork and positioning yourself. I think there is something to be said for looking at some of these teams that are drafting like 5 through 12 and deeper and saying position bets, taking some long shots on position bets. I put Genty to the Saints. And when I did that, I looked, I'm like, and I think it was somebody in the chat just like, hey, that's like 18-1. I'm like, well, I'm going to go bet that now. Like, I have to put a little bit on that, I suppose. So I think there's a few teams in there that you should take some long shots on positions where it's, maybe like a 40-40-20 split on the 3 positions they're going to take. And the 20% one is sitting there at like 10-1 or better. I think there's a few spots like that, but yeah, I'm probably going to be a lot lighter. I'm going to play some over-unders once those pop, and even those, there's a bunch of guys that if they miss, they're going to miss big.
So far, I only have one bet in, and it's because let me look at my open bets here. The only day that draft bets were open on Bookmaker was March 18th. Yeah. And the only bettable market was first wide receiver drafted, and I bet some Golden at plus 193. So that's all I'm rooting for so far, and even that was not impressive stakes. So I have about, just gonna go off the top of my head, 1/40th of the dollars in play that I had in last year's draft and the year before so far. And we need to get some stuff open. It sounds like Circa's walking back how much they're going to offer, which is a bummer. They're down to 20 player over-unders they're going to hang this year.
Yeah.
Oof. DraftKings put some over-unders up. None of them were especially like, ooh, exciting. But I do think that there's one I want to talk to you about as we kind of break down what we think is going to happen in it of the over-unders. The other news and notes, I think it's worth pointing out. We have a new player who's trying to influence draft markets, even though, again, like we're talking about $50 markets, and it's Todd McShay. What was your
weird, right?
Yeah? What did you think happened there? What can we expect there? Do you think if he gets a real deal nugget, he's going to try to nuke a market, or is this like just stupid? What's going on?
I wonder about that. Like, I feel like for him, because I don't think he's poor. Maybe he's a degen and he just needs the thrill of the win. That's one thing too. But thinking about like the social, whatever you want to call it, currency that you can get for posting,
internet clout, internet points,
internet clout. Yeah. Like, honestly, we shit on people. It's a big Kanish thing where he shits on people for posting edges, but like you posted this for a little bit of clout, and he could have just sat and won on this for 3 months instead. People dog on people for that. But when it's the draft, and like you said, the limits are so low, and it would be such a pain in the ass to even get a couple grand down. It's probably internet clout is the answer. Like, if I were him, I would go that direction instead of like trying to cobble together a $2,000 position at 40 books with friends and having wives and girlfriends open up accounts. Like, it's so hard to get down on some of this stuff. I'm still fine. I still live for the thrill of getting him right.
Is there anything he could tweet that would really make you run and open a book and make a bet?
I don't know that he's disconnected anymore.
Okay.
I feel like he still is, but it's not. Also, just because of that last little foray into gambling, I question his motivations now, and I wonder how much I can trust that sort of stuff.
Okay. The other draft nugget I had that I wanted to ask you your opinion on, the Lance Zierlein 3.0 mock came out.
Yeah, that was.
Did
the
you
one I was
digest that one?
referencing. A little bit. I haven't spent much time on that. Somebody at the Athletic put out one too, and I started to look at it, but they wrote like a paragraph and a half. Not a paragraph, like 4 paragraphs for every player. And I'm like, well, I'll get to this later. If that's
Yeah, we're in the
direction we're
Chat
going with this.
GPT era of content, as you know.
Well, not only that, but like, you don't have to write 5 paragraphs about why they're taking Cam Ward at one. It's just, I think you can be a little more succinct. So I didn't get through all that, but I did look at Zierlein's, and yeah, it's still one of those where it's the 2nd of April at that point.
Yeah.
And some of those are just, hey, I'm going to float this out there and see what the Twitter space thinks of it.
Okay. The of the most respected voices, obviously, like I still think of Daniel Jeremiah as not just like a connected guy, and who knows how connected he is anymore because so many front offices have turned over, and who knows like if the people that you are getting real information from even have jobs there anymore. But he's a tastemaker. And his opinion of which players are good influences front office's thinking. I promise you this. And Zierlein is similarly in that kind of connected or has been connected boat with a little bit of tastemaking, I think. And I think just across the folks that I would consider tastemakers, my read is there is a lot of uncertainty in the order at which the wide receivers go. And there's a lot of uncertainty in the order in which the tackles go. I don't think the tackles are sorted the way people think they're sorted.
No, people in the last few weeks have really crystallized Membu as number 1. And I think a lot of it is just the Campbell Arms thing. And I don't think everybody is like sold on that being a bad thing because there's a bunch of these teams who are who are very willing to take maybe a very plus guard.
Of course, yeah.
You know, in the middle of the round. And, you know, it's like Campbell could be just like all pro guard with tackle upside.
Sure.
It's kind of how I feel like a couple of these teams are looking at him. And the tape's not bad. So
well, the question I do wonder though, do you think the tape was bad, or do you think they just don't have working measuring tapes in Louisiana?
No, I don't. Oh, you're talking about the it's super weird that his arms got longer. I don't know. You hang off the jungle gym, like sort of the Brady Bunch like that, where he's trying to get taller. Really dating myself. That wasn't on when I was a kid. I watched reruns on Nick at Night, guys. It feels like the thing where they stretch the hands out a little bit to get better measurables on things. I don't think
I've heard from 2 different, totally polar opposite sources and places that that make me think that the sorting of the tackles is not correct, and that there could be some surprises there. Which, you know, I like of the over unders, like the Membu one kind of stood out to me like. It's really high confidence that he's going to be basically your first tackle off the board.
Well, and also it just takes one team.
Right. It does.
That's the tricky part about the draft is like 31 teams can say Membu's above Banks, and the Patriots have been weird about stuff. Obviously, it's a different group, but the Patriots could go rogue, especially if Sanders drops and Carter and Hunter are off the board. Patriots could absolutely just say, we're taking the tackle we like the best here because no one's trading with us.
Yeah.
And suddenly you have like a Calvin Banks number 4, or you have, you know, Campbell number 4, something odd, or they go secondary, they go defense. That's not Carter or Hunter. The Patriots could get awful weird, I suppose, because they have needs and they should probably trade down at that point, and they're certainly not taking a quarterback. The corner as well too. I think there's a little bit of disparity there. People just assuming that it'll be what's his name from? Is it Michigan?
Will Johnson.
Mixing up my guys. Yeah.
That he'll be CB2.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of sorting left to be done there too.
I have a Kelvin Banks Jr. is your first offensive lineman at 9-1. Looks like a little bit of value to me. I don't think that's a 50-50 marker between Membu and Campbell. But you're right, it only takes one team. Like if the Patriots miss out on Carter and Hunter, and Membu is the top OT, then he goes 4. Like that's not crazy at all. I don't know why people are kind of slotting Campbell more to the Patriots and Membu more to the Jets. I think the Jets are absolutely taking a tackle at 7, but I have heard sincere rumors that it's neither Membu or Campbell, and it could be Banks. So we'll see if that has any merit or anything additionally comes out about that. The only thing that I would say that is high there were 2 things that I would say were high confidence. One of them is that Cam Ward is the number 1 overall pick, and that's minus 2,000 now. So yeah, it's dead. The other one was Mason Graham at 5. And I know it's insane to be like, there's anything high confidence about what happens at 5 because so many things happen above. A trade down is possible.
Yeah.
Like 5 could be very weird and chaotic, but from the way I understand it, the Jags have Graham as their 3rd best non-quarterback. And I think the first 2 on their board, Hunter and Carter, are going to be gone. So that leaves it pretty easy decision. And if the Jags don't draft defense, then good luck to them.
Imagine the Jags just take like Genty or the top
tackle.
Receiver.
Yeah, this that would be something. But yeah, my jagging off. Who's the GM there now? The kid?
I can't think of it. It's just Kevin Clark, the guy who looks like Kevin Clark.
Okay. Well, so that opened up in the plus money
James
range.
Gladstone.
Thank you. Opened up in the plus money range. It's drifted to minus 150 for Graham to go pick 5, and I think that's fine. That's right. The big kind of interesting hottish take that I think I want to talk to you about. Are the Giants starting the tank for Arch Manning now? Are they just punting on the season?
It's hard to imagine that, considering the job security of the coach and the GM.
Well, the way they're acting makes me think that they know they're already gone.
It could be. I mean, front office could just be like, "Hey, we'll let you play this out. We'll pay you for the year. Put something on film for, your resume." I don't know if I could do that preseason though. That seems like a bad. I was about to say that seems like a bad job by the ownership, but it's not like I have a lot of faith in Jets or Giants ownership or Jets ownership at this point. So, yeah, I don't know. I have a really tough read on. It's a really tough read to figure out exactly what they do. I'm sticking with my martingale quarterbacks that they're still going to try to keep their jobs, and all they need is like 5 or 6 good games out of one of the 5 quarterbacks that they're going to have on roster at some point here, and if they get that, they can make a decent case for, hey, bring this back next year. We're seeing something in this guy. I think we can build off this.
There's 3 teams that clearly do not have a long-term answer at quarterback. We could take the Titans out of the mix because we're just going to give them Cam.
Yeah, we'll assume they have one.
The 3 teams that clearly do not have an answer are the Browns, I guess you could throw the Steelers in the mix too, but the Steelers also, they never seem like they have a long-term answer. So they pick way too late to do anything about it anyway. So, but the 3 teams that look to me like who is likely to be in a situation where whatever experiment they're up to this year that goes tits up and they just say, we're pointing for Manning. It's the Browns, the Giants, and the Saints. The Giants and the Saints are the 2 interesting ones too, because they both have Manning ties, which is hilarious. And the Saints potentially tanking for Arch Manning so that they could take the next first-round quarterback in their franchise history, and it being the grandson of the Archie cool. Would be hilarious and fun. And the Giants doing that for Manning too, it seems entirely plausible. And I guess where I'm coming with the Giants tanking is that like the Jameis and then the Russ thing, like, and then what they're paying them and just the rest of the decisions that they've made for free agency. It looks like Schoen's putting up the white flag.
At the same time, it's not like it's not like, oh, there's 20 good quarterbacks to pick from. Let's just pick the shitty ones on purpose.
Yeah.
Like they just didn't have the store was empty, man. There was nothing left to buy.
They're like, hey, there was nothing
a lot
available.
better than going after going after Cousins or going after
Or giving up a
Rodgers.
bunch to get Stafford or
Yeah,
something.
I think I respected what they did and kind of hedging their bets, finding a couple guys who've started. Give it a try here at least because other than giving away the farm to move up in the draft, you didn't really have an option. It stinks. Like they're in a stinky situation. Honestly, Pittsburgh's in the worst one because if they're just gonna go Rodgers, what are you tops 2 years out of him, and then you're in the same boat. And you're probably gonna end up.
You think you
with-
could get 2 years out of Rodgers?
So tops, I'm saying, like it's somewhere between 4 games and 2 years.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go.
Let's say he plays.
no,
Let's see he
and
plays all year.
It's somewhere between 4 snaps and
Yeah.
1 year.
But let's say he plays all year.
Yeah.
They're probably not going to be terrible. They have the defense. It's good enough. They're a good coach.
Yeah.
They're probably going to win 8 to 10 games again. You're just never going to get your next quarterback.
I got to tell you about Rodgers.
Nobody needs to tank worse than Pittsburgh.
No, the Pittsburgh
They
the
should
plan
start
the,
Mason
the
Rudolph for
Pittsburgh
17
plan
games.
the Pittsburgh plan makes the least amount of sense. If the Giants plan is literally we know we're going to suck. We're probably going to be picking at the top of next year's draft. Either we'll get Arch Manning or we'll get the LSU kid. We'll get somebody we like better than any of the options that are not Cam Ward in this draft. I'm fine with that. Guess the Giants have the toughest schedule in the NFL this year, Andy. There is no air to breathe on that Giants schedule this year. They are going to lose 14 games, maybe 15, maybe 16. Like this team is going to lose this year, regardless of what happens to them on draft day, right? And I think everybody's just throwing the white flag up. Now, the Saints are in the very similar boat. The Saints roster is atrocious. Their quarterback situation is wildly uncertain as well. Whatever they get out of Derek Carr and how it feels like they're just going to there's going to be a lot of healthy scratches potentially for Derek Carr down the stretch of the season, if I had to guess. But the Saints and the Giants sort of just eating their vegetables this year and setting themselves up for the future seems right. The Steelers, even the Browns kind of process of the Browns are just they're gonna go for Cousins. They're gonna cross their fingers that he has anything left. And then they're probably going to draft a day 2 guy as a developmental prospect out of this draft, which is, again, fine. I don't fault them for doing that. Their backs are against the wall because of paying Watson to the point where if that's your strategy, go for it. Hope you get a Brock Purdy. That's fine. Now the Steelers plan is the dumbest, and it's not even fucking close.
I don't know if it's just some sort of organizational pride against having a bad year, or they're so worried about
they won't eat their vegetables.
Yeah, they being mediocre for the last 10 years. Even the season where they were started 10 or 11-0, that wasn't a great team. That team had no chance to win a Super Bowl. The team was always going to flame out. So I'm trying the last really good team they had. It's like a Big Ben team,
dude.
Before he
I
had
think
too many ice packs.
with Rodgers, the upside for the Steelers this year is a 500 season. It is. I don't think that there is upside of playoff win with this move. And I actually got to put my hand up. I stopped betting the Jets last year after that miraculous win against the Texans on Thursday night. I was like, okay, that was a sign I need to stop betting these guys because they suck. And that was a very lucky cover. And so I didn't really watch them much down the stretch because plus their games weren't very good or interesting, right? But we talked to a lot of good, smart Jets people, and they were saying stuff like the offensive line is coming around. These guys are playing better. They're getting more cohesive. The defense is corroding and trapdoor opened. And without Saleh coordinating the defense, it was just a shit show out there. But the offensive line got a little better. They had Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson and Bryce Hall. Bryce Hall. You had all this talent and Breece Hall, and you had all this talent and still, Rodgers couldn't elicit functional offense. And I just kind of looked at the box scores and kind of looked at the EPA, and I was like, all right, they're not very good. We kind of knew that. But I've taken some time this offseason so far to kind of revisit some of that. and just so I could have like a clear-eyed opinion on what's going on if he goes to some team this year. And I can't believe I ever thought he had anything left. I can't believe I thought this. Like, I just wasn't paying close enough attention. He is done. He is done. If he comes back and has any type of league average quarterback season, I will be blown away.
I think he can. I think he can have a league average quarterback situation, but he has to be in like Detroit or Philly. He has to have damn near perfect offensive line play because his mobility is shot, and I mean his arm isn't what it used to be either. It's still a pretty good arm, honestly, for a man his age, but like he doesn't have the escapability he had, and it was just such a storm of like. He's not as good as he used to be. He's maybe 60% of his peak. The offensive line sucked shit. There was a lot of flux in the play calling and the coaching, and then you lost Saleh, and then also the defense started to stink really, really bad, which put more pressure on him. I think in the best of situations, the Jets could have been a 500 team last year, even with him playing that bad. But it just like everything was against him. And I mean, Pittsburgh's offensive line's better, but is the skill position group all that much better? Is the offensive coaching that much better? Obviously, the defense is a lot better. I think it's a better situation, but not enough for him to go like 10-7. It feels just like a very much 7, 8, 9 win season when he ends up there. And obviously, if there's any offensive line injuries or he regresses, it's like a 5 or 6 win season, which would be great for them. And at that point, you're probably starting Rudolph.
I think you're still picking third. You're still the third quarterback in next year's draft. I don't think there's any world where this goes so tits up that you're picking above New York or New Orleans.
Yeah, you need like a massive cluster injury and Rodgers not to sign, otherwise you're getting the third quarterback.
I think almost they're a little bit more competitive with Mason Rudolph.
Should we look at the big board for quarterback next year?
Yeah, who's the third? By all means, Arch Manning, Nussmeier. Who's three?
Arch Manning is consensus number 4.
Oh, bullshit.
I'm looking at I'm looking at NFL mock draft database, and I'm looking at their consensus big board for 2026. Number 1 quarterback, Malachi Nelson, UTEP.
That's insane.
I'm guessing there's like 5 2026 drafts out, and there's a couple weird ones. Number 2, Lenoris Sellers, quarterback, South Carolina. Nico's going to be third. Yeah, I think Nico's going to be third after Arch and Nussmeier. Got Nussmeier as like the 8th best quarterback, behind Beck, behind Moss, behind
That's
Lar.
insane. That's insane.
Yeah, I might have to look at a different site for this. But, I mean, there's some names. There's some people that people could talk themselves into. Nussmeier, definitely. I gotta learn more about Malachi Nelson at this point. somebody has him as their number 1 quarterback.
Is he actually at UTEP or is he in the portal or something? Because that seems, if he's that good, I can't imagine no one's paying him.
Previously played for USC and Boise State. He's from
and now he's at
Alamitos.
UTEP.
6'3", 194. He's a freshman.
I don't know what resource you're looking at, but this is crazy. It's going to go in some order, probably Arch Manning, and then in some order Nussmeier and Nico next year. So yeah, maybe there are 3 quarterbacks. Who knows? All right, let me.
The cup in the lip, my friend.
Yeah. So we will continue to monitor for odds to pop and then have some bets. But right now, it's feeling a little lean out there, a little deserty, and maybe some of these books are just waiting to pivot their risk rooms from Final Four to draft. Who knows?
I did play. So I said I played Genty to the Saints. I did play. What's his face? Hunter second overall. I think maybe 4-1 or something. I caught a nice number on that market. A couple when we talked about it. I think that night that we put together my mock draft.
Okay.
Now you got to check what that number is. That's
yeah, I don't have anything else on draft. I think we got a punt on worst cities. Let's do that next week. Huge week of. I'm not going to be here tomorrow because I'm heading up to the mountains Tomorrow is Andy's birthday, by the way, so be sure to wish him a happy birthday. Turns 30 or something like that. I lose track.
31.
31 years old.
31.
31 years young. Yeah, heading up to the mountains skiing tomorrow, so I will be unavailable for Fuckery Friday. I'm gonna wine of the week now, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, let's just rip out a wine real quick.
People were asking specifically for Malbec recommendations. Malbec, of course, is a blending grape from the originally from France. It's part of the Noble Grape group, which means that it's legally allowed to be mixed into Bordeaux. In general, there's only one sort of place in France I would get Malbec from, and it's Cahors, a little town in the southwest of France. And if you shop at Kermit Lynch, and actually, if you're going to get French wine, you better get it fucking soon because it's about to be a lot more expensive. But Kermit Lynch, who's the best importer of European wine for us in California by margin up in Berkeley, KermitLynchWines.com. They have a Cahors Malbec that is just absolutely outstanding for like $18 for now. And that one is, if you're into Malbec, that one would be my go-to personally. The best Malbecs grown on earth come from Mendoza in Argentina, and those in general are going to be expensive. And in general, you're going to want to probably lay those down and let them age a little bit. My go-to of the Malbecs from Argentina come from the Uco Valley, UCO. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but I never pronounce anything correctly, so I'll just live with it. But yeah, the Uco Valley in Argentina and Mendoza produces the best of the Malbec, right up against the Andes. Beautiful country. And the go-to label I would look for there, if you can find something in the $50 range, if that's what your price point is, Catena Zapata is the standout that I usually shop for when I'm looking for an Argentinian Malbec. And if you don't pair that with steak, then you are dead to me.
Maybe I'll get one tomorrow. Maybe I'll get them all back tomorrow. I'm having a
look for Catena Zapata at. I'm sure they have some
spell on me.
They have some lower what do you call it? Lower tier Malbecs too, like their house. They have, like the drink everyday table one, as opposed to the one you lay down.
$50 bottle's wasted on me unless it's good Cab Sauv.
This will hold up and go toe to toe with the Cab Sauv, but the steak every day of the week and twice on Saturday.
Yeah, I think it might still be my pinned tweet that like wife and kids are gone, starter pack. So that steak in that photo, I'm gonna have to double check that. I'm gonna look at the marbling quick. That should be, yep. My local Hy-Vee, shout out Hy-Vee, good grocery store. Caitlin Clark sponsored, or Caitlin Clark is a spokeswoman for Hy-Vee now because it's a Midwest thing. They'd get prime beef in their meat counter. Not every cut, but some of the cuts. And if you don't know the differences, like if you go eat a steak at a Morton's or above, or anywhere in Vegas or a good steakhouse in a big city, that's prime. That's why it costs so much. It's like less than 1% of the beef can be graded that high. And it's more expensive, but fucking makes a difference. Go look at the marbling on that thing. Like it just hits so much different than, even Choice or Prime Reserve. So I'm gonna go get a New York strip steak. I don't know what the sides are gonna be yet. It might just be the same damn thing. I do love a Caesar salad with a steak. I do love a good potato side, but I'll get them all back too. I just took the grate out of my.
If you can't find Catena Zapata, look for Uco Valley, UCO Valley. And if you can't find Uco Valley, just any Mendoza Argentinian Malbec in a fair price point will likely be fine. I took the grate out
of the grill, the cooking grate, and I power washed it. Just made it shine again. Every once in a while, you got to you can scrape it, you can wire brush it. It doesn't hit the same as 3,000 PSI water, just scraping that thing, making it shine again. So that thing is ready. That thing is ready for tomorrow. So have fun skiing. At some point, we'll rate shitty cities.
I actually was having a tough time coming up with shitty cities because I'm an
I have
optimist.
18
So
on my list.
you do?
Yeah.
I was coming up with cities that are like, well, these aren't shitty cities, but people like them more than I do.
I
You
think
know?
that counts. It's a very subjective list.
Yeah, like I was thinking of like where am I the most off market as opposed to what are the shittiest cities? Because if you can't find something unique and fun and memorable in a big city, then you're not trying hard, I feel like. You know?
Yeah.
Like there's
I
nothing
think I
nice
think
about
there's a good case for just like, hey,
like
here's a
yeah.
city that I didn't realize was gonna have this gross of an area.
Yeah.
Like honestly, a little spoiler alert, I loved my time with my kids in North Myrtle Beach.
Sure.
The further south you get in that town,
Oh
the
yeah.
more it
Or
smells
further
like
north.
wet
North Myrtle
drywall.
Beach is an armpit too. Yeah.
I mean, North Myrtle Beach is nice compared to like, once you get
Okay. Okay.
I mean, we mostly just went to like, hey, let's play skee ball. Hey, let's drive go karts. Hey, let's mini golf and let's go to an all you can eat seafood buffet. And then you get further south and it's like, oh, this sucks. This town sucks.
I can only really do where I'm off market for cities, as opposed to cities that suck. Because, or at least maybe I'm not. I need to broaden my mind.
Some of the cities are just like I've never even really been. I just had a bad experience at their airport. I've never really been to Dallas. I didn't like their airport, so Dallas is on the list.
Yeah, I've driven across country a few times, and I can tell you, Oklahoma City and Amarillo are going to be on my list. Albuquerque's going to be on my list.
Any city in Nebraska. Sorry. Like sorry, but just that's a pretty rough hang.
Okay.
And the best store in town is like a Love's
Yeah.
truck stop.
Relative to market, Miami's going to be on my list. Charleston's going to be on my list. You know the worst city in America to be in right now? Washington, D.C. Oh, yikes. I know the cherry blossoms are about to go, and there are certain amazing things about in Washington, D.C., but if you live there, boy, oh boy, thoughts and prayers. Ugh.
I'll be tomorrow. So solo, I'm gonna go about an hour tomorrow breaking down the tariffs.
I love it. And then torpedo bats, right? From tariffs into torpedo bats.
Torpedo bats, tariffs, and anything else. Masters week, guys.
All right, I love it.
All right, we'll see you guys.
Hit the music. There you go. I found it.